Hey guys, as you can see, I made it safely to quarantine in the US. So to kind of like pick up where I left off, so you know everything. So my last video was like, I actually filmed it way too late and I was like a little bit late rushing out of the building to get into the van. And I'll try to put in clips and pictures and videos of what everything looked like on my way to the airport and through the flight and everything. And I have some pictures that I took that I won't be able to share because they were on Air Force bases. So for like the security and privacy of everything, a lot of the Air Force base personnel asked us not to share any photos. So there's some things that I won't be able to say and there's some things I won't be able to share and post, but for the most part, I'll be able to tell you everything that's going on. So I actually filmed the last video way too late and I was like rushing out of the building. I was like a couple minutes late to get in the van, and because we were transporting like several other people and another family in our van, I did not have very much room for my luggage. So all I was able to take was like a regular sized backpack with a bunch of clothing and toiletries and stuff like that, and then a smaller backpack filled with food for the airport because we didn't know how long we were going to be staying there. So I like ran down to the car, only my two little backpacks with me, and we picked up the other people in the other family and we're on our way to the airport, right? And then normally it takes us, like, depending on traffic, it can take an hour to 2 hours to get to the airport in Wuhan. But because of the travel ban and there was no one around, we actually cruised there really fast. It took us like 45 minutes to get there. We only had one roadblock, one checkpoint to get through, and we had all of our documentation in order with the embassy. Like all of our driver's information had been communicated. Sorry, that was housekeeping that knocked on the door. Actually, it's a private sanitation team that was hired by the CDC to give us new linens and stuff, but because we're in quarantine, they have to come in with like hazmats and those like red hazardous disposal bags for all of our linens and like trash, food waste, like all that type of thing. So anyway, and I'll post a picture of what the first checkpoint looked like as getting out of Wuhan. So we get through the checkpoint, easy peasy, no issues. We get to the airport at like okay, so the embassy told us to get to the airport by 8 p.m. But we were bringing a Canadian with us who needed to be at the airport by 5 p.m. So we left our neighborhood of Wuhan at 3 p.m. and get to the airport by like 4:30ish, and the US flight was scheduled to leave we were scheduled to check in for our flight at 9 p.m. 3 a.m. we finally get to our gate. So we finally get to, like, we get through all of the security, because first of all, there was so much paperwork that we had to do for like where we're coming from, where we're going, what interactions that we've had with the virus or with anyone who has come in contact with the virus. There was a lot of like public health issued formats or forms that we had to fill out stating like our risk and our like promissory notes for the government to pay them back and stuff. There was a lot of paperwork we had to figure out, and because a lot of the information we didn't completely know. Like, I know I live in Wuhan, but is my neighborhood like, and there's three parts of Wuhan, so like when it asks for the district, I don't know if that's like the third, like one of the 1/3 that I'm in, or is it like a smaller like county. Like, there's so many different terminologies that I really couldn't, like, it took a lot of work to figure it out, because there's 3 neighborhoods or 3 sections of Wuhan. Wuhan is a very big city, so there's 3 like mini cities within Wuhan: Hankou, Wuchan, and Hanyang. So when it asked for like the district, I was like, is it one of those 3, or is it the smaller sized areas? Because there's, obviously within those 3 districts, there's a much smaller like sizing of things like Taidian and different neighborhoods and stuff. So I was like, it took a lot of work, honestly, just to figure out how to write where I live, because I'm still figuring that out. But I figured out all those forms and everything, and we get to the gate by 3 a.m. And we could have left then, but there were a lot of people who got stuck at different checkpoints and roadblocks, and because it was an embassy flight, not a regularly scheduled commercial flight, we decided to wait for them. Or I guess the US Embassy decided to wait for them. So we were waiting for people. We were just sitting at our gate waiting for people to show up, because not everyone who got on that flight was from the city of Wuhan. There were, as I found out while we were there was some Americans who came from 2 or 3 hours away, because that was the only flight that they could get. So, because a lot of other neighborhoods and areas in the Hubei province were also getting shut down and going under extreme quarantine. Oh my gosh, quarantine. Forgot all my words now. So we had to wait for a lot of people. So we finally get on the plane, and it's a sequestered cargo plane. So it's a huge plane, like absolutely ginormous. It's got 3 decks. They put obviously the cargo on the lower deck. I don't know what was going up on the top deck, not my business. So we were only in the middle deck. And because it was an old cargo plane, they had tons of it was just like sheet metal flooring with like metal rails that they hooked the chairs into. And I'm sure I can share those pictures. I'll put those pictures in as well of the different what the inside of the plane looked like. So we get in the plane, and and we sat there for so long. I don't even know how long. And there was about 400 of us. There was about 400 passengers on the plane, a little less. I know that there was supposed to be 380. I know that there was 380 on the manifest. I don't know if we took some more and if some people didn't show up. I don't know the exact number, but it was like 400-ish. And then we finally took off around 8 a.m. Remember, we got to the airport at 4 p.m. I don't even know what the calculations are, but I was there for a very, very long time. I was at that airport for more than 12 hours, which is why I brought a backpack full of food and water, which is what they warned us to do. People at my school and people who had already been through the whole process were like, you might be there for a really long time, so bring enough food and water for a while. So I did, and then so got on the plane. I don't know how long it was, probably like 17 hours or something before we landed in California. And I won't be able to share those pictures. They asked us not to, because we landed on the airstrip of an Air Force base in California, and there was a lot of military planes and whatever else their secrets are, I don't know. But they were asking everyone not to take photos, and a lot of people were still really obnoxious about taking photos, but most of us were really respectful and we didn't do it. I didn't take any photos out on the tarmac at all. That's where they were asking us not to take pictures or anything. I got one from the hangar, but like on the inside, but it's not worth sharing. So I got to the Air Force base in California, and it was dark when we landed, and I had lost complete track of time, and my phone was still set on China time, and I don't have a US SIM. Obviously there's no Wi-Fi at this hangar on a tarmac in an Air Force base. So we landed, it was dark, and I had no idea like what time it was. I was trying to do the math in my head, and my phone still said like 7:30 p.m. China time. So I was trying to do the math in my head, like dial it back and figure out what time it was where we were. So I was like, okay, it's probably like 5 or 6 a.m. Like I was like, I think that's what we're doing, 5 or 6 a.m. But I was so uncertain, and it was like kind of an emotional moment getting off the plane, because they just rolled up some stairs to this cargo plane, and we're getting off of it after they've checked our temperature. They even on the plane they were doing temperature checks like every 2 hours or so, and recording all the information. And we had like these wristbands that they were keeping tallies and temperatures on. And so we get off the airplane after we've had one last temperature check, and there's CDC people right at the door helping us out, like telling us welcome home, like you're here, we're so happy, you're safe. And we go down the stairs, and there's just like a whole team of medical people just like there, just ready with anything. And they gave us Jimmy John's as soon as we got into the hangar. After we got like checked in, and we were divvied up to different quarantine bases around the country that we're going to. And as soon as we got like all our luggage and us all checked in and sorted, they gave us a meal. And I like I said, I had lost complete track of time. So this guy's putting on another wristband to track my temperature and my seat number and like whoever I was. And I'm like, is it AM or PM here? He was like, it's AM, it's Friday AM. So I figured out like what time it was. And then they gave us Jimmy John's meals. And like, I was not the biggest fan of Jimmy John's before I left the US, but like something about this whole event and this whole moment, I got like landing like back in the US for the first time in a long time, and having everyone greet me, and like everyone saying welcome home. And like it was like such a like what's that director who made all those Transformer movies, Michael something or another, like very stereotypical Americana cheesy. But like I kind of had that moment, like the American flag was flying in the background, and there's all these Air Force planes that like I'm used to seeing from growing up in like an Air Force family. And everyone's saying welcome home, and I got the Jimmy John's sandwich, and I was like, this is the best sandwich I've ever had in my life. It was just a really nice moment. It was really emotional, but it was a really nice welcome home, until I saw all the comments on the live footage article from people saying some real nasty things about us. But whatever, not bitter. So anyway, so we land, we were there for several hours while they checked us in and got everything figured out, refueled the plane, we got back on the plane, we went to our various bases from there. So I'm now in quarantine. This is day 4. I had to wait a couple days to upload anything because I was just like feeling really overwhelmed, and I'm still doing distance learning as well. So I'm still teaching my students from here, from my hotel room. So I know this is such a long video. Let me speed up. So our rooms are really nice. We each have our own individual rooms, except for like obviously families who share, but like I have my own individual room. It's really nice. I have like a little kitchen area, a bedroom, a little living area. We get 3 meals a day. It is a very strict quarantine. We are fenced in, and there are federal marshals patrolling the fence 24/7. And anyone who comes inside and has contact with us or comes within 6 feet of us has to wear full PPE and hazmats, masks, goggles, suits, like the whole shebang. And we're not required ourselves, like the quarantinees, we are not required to wear masks within quarantine. But since we all came from China, and a lot of the people here are American Chinese and have lived a long time in China, everyone is wearing their masks. Like it's still very, like even though the federal marshal people, CDC, aren't making us, it's still very much like our routine, our cultural comfort here to wear masks when we go outside. So everyone is still wearing their masks, but they're treating us really, really well. They're giving us every accommodation. There's a lot of children here. So they're thinking of things that I never would have thought of, like getting pediatrician well visits for the little babies, formula, infant bath container thingies, like everything you can think of, they've taken care of. They even gave us I think it's called the, don't let me mess up their name, the American Foundation for Families, I think. I don't know, something like that. They've given us our own iPhones and American Sims to use for the duration that we're in quarantine, so that we can have Wi-Fi and calls and texts and can reach out to family. There's cable TV and Wi-Fi, like every single thing that you can think of, they have given us, and they've been so extremely kind. So I really appreciate the CDC, the US Embassy, and the Red Cross. They've given us so much stuff, and they've brought in like toys for the kids and crowns and they even brought me some like puzzles and Sudoku and coloring books to like keep us occupied and stuff. So they're just like way like, honestly, I like could not have been treated better. I'm so thankful, and like I was really overwhelmed the first couple days from just like being thrown across so many different countries the last couple weeks, because I like I said in my earlier videos, like I was in Korea right before, like the day before the lockdown in Wuhan, and then I was, after exactly 14 days, like exactly the quarantine time, after exactly 14 days in Wuhan, I came to the US, and I'm gonna be in this quarantine for exactly 14 days, and like and I'm still expected to do all of this work, and I'm still trying to fulfill all of my teaching requirements, and it's just been really overwhelming. But one thing I haven't had to worry about is, well, I haven't had to worry about anything else while I'm here, and they've taken care of housing and food and like even entertainment and like stuff like that. So they've been treating us really, really well. Another 11 days, I think. No, 10. Another 10 days, and I'll be out of quarantine if nothing goes wrong, and I can go home. I'm really looking forward to that. So everything's been going pretty well. I had several people like messaging me and like either privately or like in the comments and stuff, asking how I was and how I was doing and where I am. So like that means a really lot to me. Thank you guys so much for like caring about all of this. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are being really, really hateful towards people coming in from China, or even anyone from like Asian descent, and that's like, it's really upsetting. But like, you guys have been showing me so much kindness and love that it kind of like balances that out, and it makes me feel a lot better. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully I was able to load in some pictures and videos that you guys were able to view, and so far so good. Thanks.